Okay, so this is a Vire 7 engine. I'm Nick from vireengines.com. We are going to look at this today, which is the contact point set, which is under the flywheel. Tricky little job. These are Bosch ones, of course, and they're inside this magneto, which is inside the flywheel. We need to change those. So I'll show you how to do it the reliable way. Now, I'll just show you the tools first for the job. You want a 6mm Allen key to take these bolts out. You want a hammer to knock the Allen key round so you don't have to fold the flywheel. You want a 24mm ring spanner to get the central nut off, and then you need a Vire puller. I wouldn't recommend using a 3-leg puller unless you have to. The Vire one is good. And then when you've got the flywheel off, you can then take the points out. You'll need either some long nose pliers or a 4BA thing to get this little damn nut off the end. A screwdriver with a nice blade, not too wide. Good tip, don't use a knackered screwdriver to get the points out. You need a 17 thou feeler gauge to set the gap, and then you might want to take the spark plug out and check for TDC with a long screwdriver so you know the timing marks. If you want to set the timing, you're going to need something like a meter which beeps when you put the two things together, and you can check when the points are opening and closing exactly. And then when you've tightened up the nut, finally put it together with the spanner and chocking it around. You may want to use a tube spanner with a lump hammer just to knock it together and make sure that that nut doesn't loosen. So that's the tools. I'm now going to invite you to watch me trying to do it. We never know, this might take 2 takes. So here we go. First of all, you get your Allen key in these holes. Now, if I turn that round, it would just turn the flywheel festive. So what I recommend is you tap them round with a hammer until they're loose, and they'll come out. This engine's been serviced recently, so it's not a big problem. Again, put it in, a couple of taps, and you can do the rest by hand. So when we've got all 4 of these out, it will reveal underneath the nut. And these holes actually line up with the bolts, because we've got the nuts stopped in the right position to allow the splines to see it. Right, that's the 4. That will just pull off. You see the splines here only go on one way. When you finish tightening the nut, you need to have the high point of the nut pointing to the centre of one of these holes, or that, when it goes on, won't allow you to get these in. Right, stage 2. You want the ring spanner. You need to get this nut right off. That's it. Right. Stage 3. We need our Vire puller to pull the flywheel off. So this goes in. Now at this point you probably want to take the Dynastar drive belt off. So these need to be in evenly, whichever type of Vire puller you've got. This is an old one that was with a Vire 6 actually. The Vire 7 ones are easier. But the important thing is when these are in at least 3 or 4 threads, they're not in too far, so you're not going to damage the magneto inside. And when I do that nut up and put a bit of pressure on it, it has to push down on the centre evenly. So I can see that isn't even at the moment. Now it is. Yep, that's exactly central now. Okay, so now I can put some pressure on this nut. Instead of turning the flywheel round, let's get this off. Instead of turning the flywheel round, I can actually, get this belt off please. Right, I'm just trying to illustrate the problem you normally have. If you tighten that, the flywheel is going to turn, okay, which you don't want. But rather than brace this, if you use your hammer and shock it, so hold that on, go round about a quarter turn, and then give the central nut a big whack. Carry on, and you will find that that loosens really quickly. Yep, we're off. So that will now slide off. All is revealed. Put that so. Now, to get these points out, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use my good screwdriver, and I'm going to go in and unscrew the main retaining screw. You don't want to chew up this screw. Keep it safe, don't let it drop down in the bilges. Now that that's loose, you can easily get your long nose pliers or 4BA spanner on the back of this to undo it. There you go. Twizzle it round. It's a bit of a fiddle, but it's easy to do this way. You don't worry if you drop the nut, because the new points come with a nut on them. Okay, so there we are, they're off. I've got my new points ready to go in. Now, I want you to see this. These have got a mirror finish nearly on the faces, but when they come in the box, they've got oil on them. So what you need to do is you need to clean these with a bit of WD-40 on the contacts and pull it through with a bit of paper to shine them up. So what I'm doing, I'm going to polish these little points up. And then a bit of dry paper. Right. Now, they are mirror finished. I don't know if you can see that. You can literally see your face in those. Right, let's put them in. So let's loosen the screw up, the nut on the back, take that right off, and you're going to need something thin to slip in here to stop the bolt pulling through.